Hello, hello, everybody. We got a another episode of Premiere Preview. It's been a long while since I've last done it, but we are going back at it once again because I saw on Twitter that you've been looking to do some interviews. I've always wanted to interview you for a long time now, back in your
Yeah.
RBG days, and I feel like I never got the camera presence as well. So I'm excited to have you on camera now, KJ.
Yeah, no, it's good.
How you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm super excited again. I'm really interested to get this interview done because I feel like you and I have a very like not necessarily same timing on the path, but we both kind of went
Yeah.
into Premiere together, and me and casting and you and coaching. So
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like that's going to be a lot of fun. But the first question I want to ask to kind of ease into things here is how are your Pickums doing, and who do you think is going to make it? Because
Fuck.
right now we're looking at 3 matchups tomorrow. I think elimination matches for Copenhagen Flames NIP, FaZe Virtus Pro, and then Entropic Vitality. So how you doing right now?
Right now I have 3 correct.
Okay.
I also have Nip and Copenhagen both going through, so I get 1 from that.
Yeah.
So all I need is Vitality to beat Entropic or FaZe to beat Virtus Pro.
That's not bad.
So it's not horrible. It's a lot better than it was the Challenger stage, but
Yeah.
it's not
I saw you had the silver
not
corn.
ideal.
I saw you had the silver corn already, so I assumed everything went good
Yeah.
in the challengers. You were all good.
Barely.
Barely.
It was close.
I was the same way. I missed it. I think I'm good actually already because I had G2 3-0.
Look at you.
Bold prediction,
Genius.
but I went
Genius
for it.
over here.
So yeah, for sure. So I mean, now that we got that out of the way, I obviously wanted to break the ice a little bit, but now I want to talk a little bit about heading into your stages of RBG. That's kind of where I want to start things off because I know you've done a bit of coaching before that. Obviously with
Yeah.
like Liquid at one point, but RBG is a team that you stuck with for quite some time, and so for the most part, I wanted to know how you got your start as a coach and how you got introduced to RBG as well.
So after I don't know where to start here.
Yeah,
Uh,
start wherever you want.
I guess I took a break from coaching to join the army
Okay.
about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And then army started slowing down. I did most of my training, got posted, and things started to become like a more steady schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided like, hey, I really like this coaching thing. I'm gonna try it again. So I looked for a team. I also thought I was super rusty at the time, so I started at like an open level or IM level,
Yeah.
just to get it back in the groove. Did decent there. Decided to join. I think the next season like a main team or something. Did that, and then felt like after those 2 seasons, I was pretty good
Mm-hmm.
to start looking for advanced and premier level, and that's when I think G-Man Shu messaged me, seeing if I wanted to join RBG, who had just recently was like moved up or just had their first season advance played.
Yeah.
So yeah, joined them, was with them for I think just over a year and helped them get to where they are now, at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Like, you probably took a break, I imagine, after like Liquid kind of slowed down. Because I remember you telling me at one point you were like at MLG Columbus with them.
Yeah, so joined Liquid 2014, 2015,
Mm-hmm.
something around there. Went to IM San Jose with them and
Yeah.
a few other lands in the California area. Coached them on those lands. Then around, I think it was Columbus. This was my last tournament with them.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to part ways with them. Then I moved on to TSM for a little bit. Did TSM, then did a few premier teams there, and then kind of got bored of CS:GO. Moved to Overwatch. Kind of didn't really like the game, but got good opportunities because of my past.
Yeah.
So coached like tier 1 there for a little bit, and then I think that after that was when I took my break for the army.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so now kind of moving into the RBG stage like we were at before. I guess kicking things off with RBG. What were like your first initial thoughts about the team? And like, what did you think you could slot in and to do to improve them and make them better?
So initially, when I joined RBG, I thought they had a really good grasp on the meta at the time.
Yeah.
They were super good in terms of like knowing what strats to run, knowing what works at this level, what doesn't work, that sort of stuff. But their main issue, if I remember correctly, was like more of the advanced stuff of how to tie rounds in together, how to properly work together, how to actually practice together so you actually get better,
Mhm.
and that sort of stuff is those were like the main things I brought, if I remember correctly, to RBG at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they definitely kind of made their progress slowly but surely. So you said
Yeah,
after their first season, or maybe into their first season, you kind of joined
yeah.
that roster. Were you a part of that roster when they kind of got upset in advance when a lot of people were like hyping them up? I believe they lost to SKDC
Yeah,
and
so
Blanks.
I think that was I think the first season we had, we kind of made playoffs, but it wasn't like that good of a showing.
Yeah.
Um, it might have been that season we got upset by SKDC, but I remember the season after my second season with them,
Hmm.
we were like heavy favorites. Like Counter Nature was doing articles about us like every day, like number one team, who to look out for. Like
Yeah.
they kind of put us on the pedestal that they put out like Pain when they were in advance,
Hmm.
or like God sent last season, right? Like
Yeah. A lot
this
of people
team
were
will
hyping you up.
stomp everybody, right? And then I think that season we lost to like third Impact,
Hmm.
third for the third place
Yeah.
or something, or like we lost. I don't know,
Was
not
it?
too sure, but we did not do very well.
Yeah, and then you made it into the relegation tournament. Is that?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then relegation happened, and we're like, oh fuck, we can just calm down now. The stress of winning advance is over. Let's
Hmm.
just stomp these premier relegation games and make MDL.
Yeah, I mean, as like a coach, was that something that was like kind of weighing on your players, like the all of the hype that was built up? Because I remember that season very like clearly. I casted a lot of RBG alongside Reggie
Yeah,
back then, and it definitely was the same thing for me. I saw that this team was playing for seasons. I think at the time, for some reason, it might have been later on, but that there was like good players like Alish had put out a tweet or something about RBG, and
yeah, maybe, yeah.
so I was like that's a lot of pressure for sure. But I mean, as a coach, how do you try and like calm your players down in that sense?
The main thing I really did was kind of just take it one game at a time, right?
Hmm.
Like we can't be looking at a finish line that we don't know it's there for us, right? Because unlike like racing, you're like, this is the start, this is the finish. I just have to get there,
Yeah.
right? Whereas competing, it's a lot more of people trying to push you off the line, and you don't really know where your finish line is. So it was a lot of just taking like one step at a time, and really focusing on what we could control instead of all the other variables of stuff we couldn't control.
Yeah, so I mean, you ended up leaving the roster, I believe, in November of 2020, and so that makes it about a year now, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's true.
you kind of took a little bit of time off of CounterStrike, and
Yeah.
that was not right after they made Premiere. They had been in Premiere for a little while. Is that correct?
I think it was a season in Premiere,
Yeah.
and I
So
left the season after, like halfway through the season or something like that.
yeah, so I mean, I wasn't expecting RBG to make playoffs. I was expecting them to maintain their position, not get relegated because they definitely showed strengths there. But they made playoffs. They had what I would consider as an overperformance in their first season in Premier, and then you had to dip out because of military, I believe. So I mean, what were
Yeah.
your thoughts in that position? You were really working well with this RBG team, but then just circumstance made you have to
Yeah.
leave.
Well, yeah. It kind of like the story of my career in a sense, whereas like I get really good, I put a lot of work in, I get to the high, and then I'm like, oh shit, something out of my control
Yeah.
happens, and I need to get bumped down a little bit,
Hmm.
right? So I wasn't too worried. Like I know what I'm capable of and what I can do with teams. It's just like another roadblock of like, oh well, maybe now it's gonna be 2 more seasons before I get where I want to go, or 3 more seasons, or like whatever, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, you still rocking with the Triton roster, which can kind of bring me into the next point because, you left RBG. You took a little bit of break in between, but now you joined it back with Triton. I think a lot of people were really glad to see you back there. At least coaching in the premier level, because you've proven yourself with the RBG boys. As an effective coach. So heading into the Triton roster, what would you say like the biggest difference were between RBG and the Triton roster? Or I guess it's one tap now.
Yeah, one tap. So when I was last season's one tap, I kind of wanted to challenge myself. I had a lot of RBG-esque rosters that wanted me.
Yeah.
Like the Verum roster wanted me. And there's a few other rosters that really wanted me.
Mm-hmm.
But I went with one tap because their style kind of was like completely opposite of what I'm used to. Right? Where they're a lot more, in a sense, like aim no brain, but they still have it's like a lot more mechanical skill than
right.
RBG, right? RBG kind of struggled at end when I was with them because they had the brains, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now this team is kind of the opposite of, they don't need help mechanical wise, but they do need help like strats wise, right? So I kind of wanted to challenge myself with that roster, and I feel like I fell a bit short with my expectations of the roster, but I still think what we accomplished last season was fairly good.
Yeah, I mean, I think so as well. You guys, I think, took a map victory off of Pain in the regular season. So there's a couple of good signs for you all. And again, you're one of those teams that one tap, or at the time when they made Premier, called Triton. Not a lot of advanced teams are able to stay afloat and hang around in their first season of Premier, and one tap was one of them. I think partially it was a little bit of an easier group in that sense, but you got to play with the cards that you're dealt, and you did a good job there. But that's something that I kind of recognize as well, is that RBG, that super structured team that has a lot of time together, versus a roster that didn't have as much, and so they're very talented. Like Cyrix was an absurdly good operator. Gank 88 as well. A lot of mechanical talent on that team. But now you have new additions as well, so it's hard to introduce them. I guess, what are you trying to do to bring the new players in? J-Dubs and I'm blanking on Walker. So what are you doing to try and adjust those two players into your system?
So I'm not doing much because I'm taking the season off for the most part. Right, I'm still on the roster on ECA, but I'm very hands off at the moment right now. Like when we did add them, and what I was trying to do the few weeks I did work with them, was a lot of just trying to get them on the same page, right? Because they don't really have a huge strat book that they had to memorize. It's more of getting them to see the game and feel the game the same. So the split decision thinking that they have, they're all on the same page when it happens, right? Instead of, X player thinks they should fall back in this scenario and Y player thinks they should go forward. Just having that disconnect really struggles in that style that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, and then losing Cyrix, obviously ATK is a pretty big pickup for him. I was excited to see that, and I was always thinking that ATK probably needed an opper. I guess he's a player that, as an individual, kind of interests me because I think he has a super high ceiling. What do you expect from him, knowing that you kind of were working hands on with Cyrix on an individual level? What do you expect with a roster like ATK? Do you think that they will be better, worse off, or not too different?
I think because Modem was opping last season for them, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think getting Modem off the op is a huge win for them. Like, not to bash on Modem's opping, but I think having him like second op or like rifling is just so much more impactful than him being stuck on the op. And then pick up with like so much mechanical skill as Cyrix.
Yeah.
Like that team is looking very scary this season. And I could see them like being up there with like the PA and the maybe a bit below Exocell, but like around the PA RBG level, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I just do you have a lot of high hopes for Cyrix? I think that he's a player that, even like as kind of a young stage in his career, early in Premier experience, has impressed me more so than a lot of oppers that are heading into Premier. I have heard that he struggles with going for like confident peaks. Is that something that you as a team struggled with it overall, or do you expect him to with a roster that has a bit more experience in ATK? Mata plenty of premier experience, whereas the rest of One Tap they were new as well with him. Do you think that with this roster he could be more comfortable?
Yeah, I think this roster is a lot better for him, a lot more like leadership
Yeah.
to help him grow, to help him excel in that sense, right? Because mechanically he's up there with like the Oppers and Premier, right? But it more of the mental that he needs to like grow and mature and that sort of stuff, right? And that's like the ATK roster is perfect for that sort of stuff.
Gotcha. And so, I mean, kind of mentioned that you're taking a little bit of this season hands off, so I guess we can kind of move into some of the more premier news, because you're kind of again one of the opinions that a lot of people are looking to. So we got the groups out. The groups are a bit weird again this season.
A little.
I mean, you've got a insanely stacked East Conference, West Conference. I mean, you have a couple of good teams, and I guess Pain Gaming, Bad News Bears is in there as well. Triumph are still pretty good, but again, you've got the winner of Premier last season. You've got the second place in Extra Salt, third place in RBG, and then the team one, obviously a move down from Pro League, ATK, which is an incredible team that technically, because Godson have already made it into Pro League, are filling in, so you could say that they're the advanced winners. I mean, what do you think about these two groups here?
So Eastern's by far stacked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel bad for maybe 1.5 teams in that conference, just because like there's not enough time for them to catch up to half of these teams in their conference. Right? And then the Western Conference, it's a lot more of a question mark to me, right? Like, Bad News Bears will be good. Triumph without B-Wells, you don't really know how good they are. The Arrows, Limitless, Northern Forces, you don't really know where they're going to show up and how they're going to show up. Chococheck's always a question mark, and One Tap with their 2 new additions is kind of a question mark. So it's really hard to tell what the Western Conference is going to look like in like 4 weeks from now. And then Eastern Conference, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit worrying. I think that the biggest issue for a lot of the teams, I think this was kind of an issue. I remember last season with Car, was they had the more stacked group. If I'm remembering correctly, and then I feel like they could have outpaced some teams, but they weren't able to keep up, and so then as an advanced move up, you're directly back down into your struggling ways, and you get auto relegated and the like. So definitely worrisome. I mean, luckily though, One Tap is in the West Conference, so
once again, One Tap gets an easy conference.
I don't know which Adam you're paying off there, but it's working.
It's working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I got for this interview. I'm glad we got to touch a little bit on the history there, make it nice and quick there. But I mean, I guess I got one last question. It's kind of based on if Placia was in the roster while the time you were the coach, and I don't know if he was.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, yeah, so never mind. I'd be interested to see. Always interested to see coaches in Classy and how they clash, but other than that,
no, I wasn't there. Thank God.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for the interview, KJ. Anything you want to shout out before we head out?
Nothing I think of. Just follow me on Twitter at CoachKayJay. Right. Where is it?
Right. You did.
Oh,
there you go.
Right there. There we go. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. See all what I'm up to there. I post 99% of what I'm doing and what I'm looking for there. So if you have a team that wants me next season 40, then hit me up and we can figure something out.
Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem.